Check 1, 2. Checkity check, 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 checkity check. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we all doing today? It's Wednesday, which means it's usually time for another live stream. Very late today, and just figured we'd go for it, even though we're just jumping on here. No heads up. Bunch of people already in the chat. What's going on? Stan, J Mike, Renga, Stan, Lakeshore, Studio, Bella, Gerald, Carlos, what's going on? He's one of our members. Third Coast, AP Studios, and others. Welcome, everybody. Oh, that worked out well. I'm going to get rid of these headphones real quick. Set those right there. Am I coming through loud and clear? Looks like I'm a little high on my levels. One moment. Let me turn that down just a hair. Check, 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 check. There we go. It's that time of year again, isn't it? To carve up some turkeys, hang out with family, at least if you're here in the United States. We'll see who all turns in. Looks like we got a couple of people, so that's awesome. How's everybody doing? Anything new going on? I have not been keeping up with the news, but it seems a little quiet, especially after all the madness we've had recently with all these camera releases. Oh man, it's nice to have a little bit of a breather, even though I haven't really produced any content on all these new cameras. But that stuff is coming. I will be doing a guide for at least the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, as well as the X-T3. I don't know about the Canon, maybe. And I don't know about the Nikon Z6, which arrived yesterday. And I just charged up the battery. I don't have any Nikon gear, so the battery that came with the camera is all I got. So yeah. Doing good here. Nice. Cincinnati. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Anybody all settled in with family yet? And all that madness? I never understood, or never was envious of those families who did multiple Thanksgivings. So if you're one of those people, whew, Godspeed. Yeah, I agree, Lakeshore, with the S1 and S1R. Man, would be great to see some more specs. I was thinking just today, and this is going to sound like I'm such a Panasonic fanboy, and I kind of am, but I'm not exclusive. Like, there's a lot of guys out there who stick with one brand, and that's it. You know, they're a Canon shooter. They have all the L lenses, Canon bodies. I have a little bit of everything. So now we have the Canon EOS R. I mean, at this point, actually, I own a Nikon, a Canon, Panasonic, Fuji, Blackmagic, and Sony. I think that's it. So, but all that is to say, I was thinking today, I still think by mid to end next year, the GH5 and 5S are still going to be some of the best cameras you can buy. Something to think about. Now, that's dependent on what Sony does with their small pro mirrorless camera. This is being streamed on a Sony a6500. So we'll be seeing some kind of update from Sony with that camera, maybe two. You know, they're talking about kind of a mini A9. I don't know what we'll see there, but they're talking, you know, I've seen rumors 4K 60, all that kind of stuff. Could be really interesting. And then we have the A7S III. So depending on what Sony does with those cameras, that my statement might not be true, but I still think by the end of next year, if you own a GH5S, you're still going to be really, really happy. because 422 10-bit, 4K, and all that great stuff that comes along with that camera, one of the most solid log setups under $2,000 or around $2,000. Man, crazy good. So I'm thoroughly enjoying. If I was just shooting these days, I would have a GH5 and a GH5S, just two cameras that work well together. If you have both, if you're able to afford both, you're getting kind of the best of all the worlds. The only thing that's kind of missing is autofocus, but people have been doing videos and it looks like things are pretty solid. I honestly don't really use autofocus too much. You know, I use my phone and I just drag the focus to myself, and that works pretty well. But it's crazy, right? We got the S1 coming out, but it doesn't look like it's going to be quite as meaty of a setup as the GH5 or 5S with, you know, the pixel quality is the word or the phrase I've used in the past. And unless Sony does something, it's going to remain the same, I think. That said, I have been using my A7 III a little more for certain videos where I really want that autofocus. Most of the time, if I'm doing a video like this, I just set the focus to my face and I leave it because I'm not going to be, you know, moving a lot. But what I've been really enjoying is doing stuff like this, you know, if I'm doing a video. So I think two of my recent videos, at least my last video that came out yesterday, you know, doing stuff like this where I show something to the camera and hopefully it focuses. There it goes. That's kind of nice. That's really nice. And I don't think I could do that with my Panasonics, or at least I wouldn't feel nearly as confident with that. So now that I've droned on for a while, let's see if we have some questions, and definitely hit me up. Maybe this time we'll do something a little different and I'll address the questions that are labeled. So if you do @DSLR video shooter, I'm going to be looking for those. That way, if you guys are having lovely conversations as you usually do, I can make sure I nail those questions, because I feel really bad when I rewatch a stream, which isn't all the time because I'm not that pretentious, but the one I do with my wife, we both watched it back and that was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed that. Definitely going to have her back on the stream, and we missed so many comments and questions, so sorry about that. Jonathan says, are you waiting to release the mega camera comparison until you get some testing with the Z6? I think the reason I haven't released that yet is just the amount of stuff I'm trying to get done by the end of the year. I'm trying to work on 2 guides, get a bunch of videos done, and my goal is by 2019, January 1, I have 0 commitments to any company aside from my own. So I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past on the stream yet, but I am saying no to absolutely everything that's been coming in. So, you know, for example, Tilta with their awesome new wireless follow focus, several other companies, lights, tripods, rigging, gimbals, all that stuff, sliders, motorized systems. I'm just completely shutting all of that down so that I can focus on content that I have really been looking forward to getting to, and I feel like it's just become kind of a review channel, which, you know, that's kind of what this is, right? And that's fine. But if all it is gear reviews and there's all that tutorial type stuff I really want to get to, and all that gets pushed back, as an example, the anamorphic series, that's not cool. So starting in January, I am looking forward to walking down the stairs here into the studio and being able to do any video. That sounds so crazy to me, and I'm really looking forward to that. So, long story short, I'm going to work on the mega review comparison, and it's going to hopefully be done by the end of the year. There's just so much. The Z6 arrived late, so, you know, I didn't get that in with the main tests. So we'll try to get that in there now that we have it. Right. Scrolling down, here we go. Fuji cameras, are they reliable? From Chris. I haven't shot any like major gig with Fuji ever. Panasonic has always been there for me. You know, I back when I was still doing freelance, I had 2 GH4s and ran those into the ground, and they just kept on going. Fuji, if you're doing, I don't know if I would trust it yet. I'm still working with the X-T3, but unless you rigged it up with more battery power, all that kind of stuff, I don't know if it's something I would fully trust. I think power is the biggest problem, potentially. Maybe overheating, but I haven't noticed any issues there yet. Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K guide. Yes, that's coming. Marco, definitely. I'm actually working on it right now. I've had the camera sitting right here next to my desk, and I've been comparing and testing and doing all that stuff. And so that's in the works for sure. I'm a little afraid to work too much on that just because I know I'm going to have to finally learn Resolve, which seems a little daunting to me. But yeah, that's happening. What camera are you filming with now? Well, I'm streaming on the A6500 right now, and in the studio I mainly use my GH5S, and I've been mixing in, like I've been talking about earlier in this stream, the A7 III for those autofocus, you know, opportunities. And then for my B-roll, it's almost all the GH5. So I have the GH5S all like rigged up for just a fixed off, locked off shot, and then the GH5 is, you know, more nimble for B-roll. Fuji for wedding shooters. If you can figure out that long form situation when it comes to power, sure. Actually, I think it would look great for, because really the strength with that camera is you don't have to work with the footage too much to get some really, really good looking colors. I will say though, the Fuji has been doing pretty rough when it's underexposed. And when you just put that camera next to all the other cameras, that from the test we did, it looks so dark. I know Max Yuriev has found similar findings with his tests, so it might get pretty dicey when you're in that low light, you know, reception situation. Otherwise, yeah, it looks great. All right, I'm gonna expand the chat here because we got some questions. Good question. Let's see here. Rhett Thompson, didn't hear the autofocus convo, but it should be noted that the GH5, S, and 9 work best on native lenses. Right on, makes perfect sense. And I should try that. I haven't really truly trusted Panasonic yet for autofocus. So maybe one of my next videos, I'll just do the GH5S with the, I don't know, 12 to 35 and do autofocus, see what happens. Simon, what's up, Simon? Could have said that earlier before you typed out my question. Could have said that earlier before I typed out my questions. Oops, sorry, I must have addressed something. Going down here. Hayden, is there going to be a DD D3 Pro review? Not, I covered it in that video a little bit. I haven't fully, you know, tested it. If you're looking for a review now, definitely check out Curtis Judd, G-J-U-D-D, and I believe he has a review up, and he's like the audio beast. He's great, audio master. Is there we talked about that. Also, anamorphic video from Rhett. Yes, that we're at least going to do one mega anamorphic video. I'm still going back and forth if I should do a series on YouTube or if I should do a massive guide, because there's so much to unpack there. But there's not a lot of resources online that's kind of the start to finish guide to anamorphic. Because if you start diving into it, there's so many like adapters and what's going to work with what taking lens, what is a taking lens. So I want to break all that stuff down, kind of, you know, organize it all and put it into a series where people could grab a beverage, sit back, and learn about anamorphic and, you know, cover all budgets and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. What's up, Bright Tangerine? Epic map boxes. Everyone should go check out their stuff. Atlas Orion anamorphic. Have I tried them? Any other expensive cinema glass? From Isaac Stacy Films. I have not tried them. I've seen them at NAB. I think for the most part, I haven't really done anything too crazy with cinema lenses. I've worked a lot with the Zeiss CP2s, the Canon cinema lenses, but I haven't really done any like real ones, you know, like I haven't worked with Cook or anything like that. So that would be kind of fun to do down the road. But yeah, maybe see if I do a guide, that means there would be a little more funding there. So I could essentially rent lenses and kind of break down more than budget options. And if I did do a guide, I don't think I would charge too much for it. But, you know, depends on how in depth I want to go there. Or I do both, little series on YouTube and then the full-fledged guide. Let's see what else we got here. Oopsie dips. Ooh, I better giddy up here. Whew. Finding my spot because this daggum chat is constantly on the move. I'm gonna keep this thing moving. Do you have an FS5? No, I have an FS700, and I've worked with the FS5. Great camera. What camera are you using to film now? A 6500, and then all the cameras I've talked about previously in the stream. I'm trying to decide between the Fuji X-T3 versus the Sony a7 III. This is Trevor. Which camera would you pick up, especially when you have a lower budget? Probably the Fuji X-T3. I mean, you're going to get that for around $500 cheaper. The lenses are probably a wash, maybe a little cheaper than Sony, but you're stuck with no full frame. Something to think about. What's your favorite budget monitor? That's a great question. Part of my series that I started with this audio video from yesterday, we're going to be doing my favorite monitors, and we'll be talking about probably my favorite budget is still that Andy Cine monitor. So you can check that out on my channel. I did a review. It's probably still my favorite. It's a great 5.7 inch and has a little bracket. It's not very well made, but if you're going to take care of it and not drop it, it's going to do just fine. And it's around like 160, 70 bucks. All right, jumping down here. Cheap ass reviews. Do you have any stocking stuffer ideas for video shooters? Hi from Seattle. Wow, that's a great question. For video shooters, man, I think it's there's a lot of, I don't know if you guys care much about grip and rigging, but there's so much fun stuff there to be had. So I would say a great one is a nano clamp from Manfrotto, or you can buy a way cheaper version, about a third the cost or less, from other companies on Amazon. But if you just Google nano clamp, great little clamps. They have a 1/4-20 and a 3/8 tap. You can clamp them to anything. You can attach anything to them. They're wonderful. Otherwise, Dinkum Systems makes an awesome clamp that has an arm coming off of it. Stuff like that. Or go on eBay and do yourself and your loved one who you're giving this to a favor and search for the Industar, let me get this right, Industar 61, I think it is. There's a whole bunch of these lenses. They're one of the most made lenses of all time. So like over in Russia, they're trying to sell these things by the bucket. So I think for like 30 bucks, I got 5 or 6 of these cute little lenses. Hang on a second. Let me actually have someone grab one for me. One sec. Apparently the assistant has punched out for the day, so we're not going to do that. But essentially, these are really cool vintage manual lenses. I think it's like the Industar 61, 62, 63. Little metal, all manual, D-clicked apertures, really fun, great look, and they'll cost you almost nothing. You could even get a whole bunch. They have different like color combinations, really pretty. Even if you just put them on a bookshelf, they look great. Great question. Do you think the A7S III will have 10-bit internal from Lakeshore Studio? I have a really hard time thinking it will, but maybe Sony will prove us wrong. I think they'll do external because they might save that for a future camera, and really the competition is all external 10-bit when it comes to the larger sensors. So I wouldn't, I don't think they would, but who knows? Who knows? Will you do a guide on it from Augmented? Not sure what you're speaking about there. Should I buy the GH5 or A7 III for weddings? That's a phenomenal question. GH5 is going to give you better stabilization, and it's going to be a little more affordable, so you could potentially get 2 of them. A7 III is going to be way better at autofocus. I'm cracking up, so I'm going to grab some water here. So it's a tough call. Also look at lenses. What are lenses going to look like for how you shoot weddings and what they'll cost. Okay. Moving on to Simon in the house with, I was talking about you asking for the tags. Ah, got it, dude. Got it. Definitely make an anamorphic guide for the Academy. What's up, Alex? How you doing, brother? Alex is one of our lovely members. All those people with those little sick icons, those are all members. Love them. And everybody else. I looked it up. 12 to 35. Version 1 and 2 both have linear motor. Should work well for autofocus. Awesome. Sweet. Thanks for the info, man. You should check out Rokinon Cine lenses. Yeah, I've never used those. I've used the cheaper plastic ones, but I've never used their like big boys. What do they call those again? I can't recall. But yeah, good call. CP2s are awesome. They are super dope. From Isaac Stacy Films. Have you thought about renting the SLR Magic Anamorphics as a baseline, all in one package? Renting that might be the cheapest anamorphic option out there. Yeah, I have several SLR Magic anamorphic adapters or lenses, and they're great. They're a little fiddly, but I think what you're talking about, the dedicated lenses, and yeah, I think that'd be worth checking out for sure. Black Friday deals from Stan. You know what? I'm kind of lying low. I might tweet something out, but essentially, more and more, it's just, this is detrimental for me to say because, let's face it, a part of the business is making money off of affiliate sales. But I think everyone should just think about, maybe ask themselves some questions. What was the last project I shot? Are you shooting with your gear? And are you happy with your work? Because we all know the camera's not going to improve that. So maybe lay low. If gear's working for you, fill up that hopper for the winter, and yeah, not go too nuts on Black Friday. That said, if you're going to be shopping, using affiliate links are always appreciated. But yeah, I'm not really, I haven't really looked. I haven't seen anything that's like, but I haven't been, searching for stuff. Favorite camera of the year from Isaac. I'm going to do a video on this, but I'll tell you right now, it's going to probably be the GH5S. It's not going to be the most popular answer, but I think, and we're starting to see people realize, wow, this camera is really, really good. There's a reason, oh shoot, what's their names? Who's the gimbal, the original gimbal manufacturer? They came out with this crazy high-end thing. There's a reason they were originally going to put the A7S II in it, and they decided to go with the GH5S. That camera right now has the highest pixel quality for around $2,000, and it's super, super good. So that's probably my favorite camera. What are your thoughts on Sigma's EF2L mount adapter and what that means for lens selection for the Lumix? That's great. EF to L adapter. Yeah. I mean, if they can get autofocus love still going with their EF lenses on that new system, that's going to be pretty sick. And more, they're dominating, man. Sigma, whew, even if their image quality isn't as good, their glass quality, the fact that they're becoming like the universal company, like if you have their lens, no matter what comes out, they're going to win because they can make these lenses, and they're doing a great job filling all those gaps, which is awesome. What do you think about upscaling 720p into 1080? Try to shoot 1080, I would say. You can do it. It actually might help you on YouTube to have, an HD tag next to it. Thoughts on Canon FD? Love it. Name of the lens again. Industar. I'm going to type it out here. Industar 61, I think. Data Love Forge is dropping the donations. $5. And he says, I'm pretty fed up with Apple's current offerings. Besides Final Cut 10, which I think is fantastic, how are your Hackintoshes working? I'm considering it. That's a really good question. Right now, this is all happening in front of us on the internet with my iMac 5K 2017. So it's an iMac. I went back to Apple hardware because right over there, there's a second desk with another iMac, and I want to have a really great collaborative setup. I'm using a QNAP NAS. It's killer. Me and my editor are able to both work off of the same RAID system, and I love it. That said, I still have my Hackintosh right over here in a corner, and honestly, it's held up well. If you're a super nerdy dude or lady, you can totally make the Hackintosh thing work. You're just going to have to constantly be making little tweaks. It's like owning a 1990 Audi or VW or BMW. They're fun and they're affordable, but you're going to have to get under the hood a lot. Now, this one has been pretty good to me. I know a lot of people have great results, but I don't know about the future of Hackintoshes. I mean, if Apple is going to start doing their own chips, maybe someday they'll have their own CPU. Hackintoshing is going to get pretty rough. Eventually, I think it'll just won't be possible because it's the only reason it works is off-the-shelf components. Long story short, if you're not happy with what Apple sells, if you don't want that Mac Mini, which looks dope, like if I'm starting today and I'm on a budget, I'm getting a Mac Mini and I'm getting an external GPU. I think that's gold. So yeah, long story short, you can do it if you're a little nerdy and you're willing to deal with the headaches that arise with big updates. Otherwise, you know, if you don't like spending time on forums, probably pass. Do you think the S1, S1R will basically be a best of the GH5 and GH5S? From Lakeshore, I don't know. I think they're going to chop and hack a lot of the specs because they have to for heat, unless they build a big body and they decide just to go for it. That's the reason all these full frame cameras don't give us everything. You know, it's pretty easy to pack Micro Four Thirds and all the good stuff in there. It's pretty tough to do that with full frame. You're one of my favorite channels. Thank you for all the info over the years. I think I've seen every single one of your videos and take your opinion heavily when buying stuff. Wow. Every single video, Fares. That's intense, dude. Thank you. Very kind words. All right, let's see here. Isaac. They called, oh, Exene. That's right. Good call. Currently, I'm using the Canon 60D and want to upgrade. Do I get a 60 Mark II 80D or wait until the 90D comes out, which is rumored to be 4K? I shoot photo, but getting more into video. Okay, so Canon 6D upgrade. If I'm you, and you obviously you want to stick with Canon, I'm going to do the 80D, which I imagine is on sale right now, or the 60 Mark II if you want full frame. I doubt 4K's. I think 4K from Canon is going to suck until at least middle of next year. It's going to be the same crop stuff, the same soft stuff. So if you're holding out for 4K, this is not the camera to hold out for. Just my thoughts. So if I'm in your shoes, I'm probably getting an 80D if you're happy with a crop sensor and you have tons of lenses for that. Otherwise, a 60 Mark II. What device do you use for streaming to your PC? Marco, we're using the AVIO 4K. Yeah, I'm going to take a quick sip here. We got some more questions. Good stuff. Good stuff. Loving it. I forgot to mention, but like every single week, after this stream, I'm headed over to Jem Schofield's channel, and we're going to be doing another episode of Camera and Flask. So I would love it if you guys join me. I'm going to grab a link for y'all. And this week we're talking about traveling with gear. So if you travel, fly, drive, take a train with gear, definitely please join us. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. Have your beverages in hand. There's the link. I just dropped it below. Really looking forward to that one, especially since I'm going to kind of sit back and enjoy hearing from the two guys who have flown ungodly sums, because I don't really travel that much anymore. But it's always a fun topic, right? And we'd love to hear from you guys what you do for traveling with gear. So definitely stay tuned for that. So back to the questions. Your review on the Cine DS was great. Cool. All right. And we have another donation from Seether, Canadian $7. When objectively talking about pros and cons of brands, are fanboys an issue? Do you have insights on dealing with it? That's a really good question. I think Canon people just don't comment. Either because, you know, they feel they're going to get destroyed, or they just don't watch my channel. Let me know what you guys think if you're a Canon shooter or not a Canon shooter. But I don't hear a lot of Canon people talking in the comments. I do hear Sony people get on my case if I trash Sony or say something bad, and likewise with Panasonic. But usually Sony people are pretty intense. I would say of all the fanboys, I think Sony is the most outrageous, because, you know, they're just really into their cameras, which is great. I think they make great cameras. So I just, when it comes to dealing with any of that stuff in the comments, I just don't. If someone's going nuts, I usually just don't address it, or just, you know, laugh it off with them in the comments, like, haha, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. We're all gonna still go to sleep tonight. You know, it's gonna be fine. There's no need to lose our minds here. So, yeah, that's kind of how I deal with it. But not too much of that. Honestly, you guys are incredible. So, as I have in the past, I'll say it again, you guys have been phenomenal to make content for. I've really enjoyed watching you guys help people in the comments. And when, you know, I talk about another channel, I go over there and I find tons of you guys giving them love. So I love that. That's lots of fun. And I am proud to call you, what would I call you? Proud to have you guys on board. If it were, we'll just leave it at that. But great question, and thank you for the donation. Moving on, we got some more questions here. Is there a site with aggregate information about which cameras use full frame sensor readout and which cameras are bad? Those that use line skipping. That you might have to go camera by camera and just search it out, unfortunately. Simon, check out Caleb's review video this week on that 12mm crazy lens with nearly no distortion. Yeah, that thing's nuts. And I really want to probably go out and buy their 10. I'm going to probably buy their 10 to, what is it, 10 to 18? Full frame. That's just stupid. What's up with that? Keep going back and forth between the Canon M50 and the Lumix G85 for video, and waiting for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Sway me one way or the other, from Silly Goose. I haven't done a review on the M50 and it just bores me. To me, it's like an SL2 with a crop 4K. That said, if you like Canon, it does shoot phenomenal 1080p, and it's tiny. The G85 is going to give you that stabilization, real stabilization of the sensor, and 4K. So if you're just doing 1080, just maybe go with the Canon. If you want to save a buck, get the SL2, right? Because, yeah, very, very good stuff. If you're all you're thinking about is 1080. Would you recommend the M50 for photography? And will you do a review on it? Sorry for not being clear. So another question on that. I'll probably do a review because I know a lot of people have asked about it. And I'm not saying the camera's bad. I just don't really care for it. But if you're doing 1080p, it's a great little camera. It's good. For photography, I love it. As a dad, I love this form factor. Tiny little camera, great for shooting video, taking stills. C-Log, Canon's new log, is wonderful. Is the 80D good enough for cooking videos? Absolutely. And we got another donation, this time from our good friend W3HO with 10 CHF. Thank you very much, sir. I found the Sony A7 II for $1,500. Should I buy it or wait for the A7 III? Whoa, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say, if I'm you and you have $1,500, now is that US dollars? Because that changes everything. But $1,500 US dollars, I'm gonna wait for the A7 III. I'm gonna try to find someone who needs to sell it quick, spend a couple hundred more, and you're gonna get all the good stuff with the A7 III. I've been telling people for a while, sell your A7S II while you still can, because the A7 III, people are figuring out that it's a great camera, and now's the time to sell if you want to, and if you own one of those. Cool. Jumping down here in the comments, we got those questions rolling in. Lots of Canon folks. People are like, "Hey, I shoot Canon." Love it. So glad you guys are here. I've been worried that I kind of lost all my Canon people, because I'm not anti-Canon. You know, lately they haven't been making cameras that I'm wild about, but that's where I started. I had a 5D Mark II, like a lot of people. Canon 7D, 6D, all that good stuff. C100, loved that camera. So I hope I don't, you know, alienate Canon people, because I think they're gonna come back. It's just, they got nothing in that sweet spot, you know, that $1,500 to $3,000. That's where the action is right now, and they're just not there with much. Right. Isaac loves Canon. Isaac Stacy Films loves Canon's color. And Isaac has an SL2. Cool. Most of the new good cameras have abandoned line skipping, I reckon. So it should be safe from garbage video from John. Yeah, and if that comment was about the cameras coming out these days, I'm pretty sure you're safe on most of that stuff. Look at that. Look at that. We're caught up. That's wonderful. I feel so happy. Best accessories for your camera to improve overall video quality aside from lenses. Wonderful question, Alan. So I would say lighting. Lighting. Not even lights, but modifiers. So get this. My key light right now is this. Let me grab it. As I hit myself in the head. It's a crappy, torn piece of foam board. That's my main key, right? It's not the originating source of light, but you can see in this room, this looks like poop. This light up here, I can flip it around, but because I wear a hat and the light's way too high, it looks like poop. So I'm just literally, a ceiling light is hitting this and giving me a nice soft key light. So let me flip that back. Let me put my piece of foam back. Right? Pretty impressive. So at least I think so. I would say lighting. Learn lighting. Get a bunch of big, soft things and shoot light through them or bounce light off of them. That I would take, like shooting on a SL1 and some sick lighting modifiers and lights, overshooting with, you know, some super sexy camera and no lights. You gotta work with the light, man. And I think 2019, ladies and gentlemen, 2019 is going to be the year where my mission is going to be to help people figure that stuff out. Because here's a scoop. YouTube, video production all around the world is exploding right now. When I got started, there were like 2 other dudes talking about this stuff. And they were so out of my league. I was just some dumb noob kid And that was Vincent, Shane, and all those legends, right? Talking about large sensor cameras that shoot video. And now there's thousands and thousands of channels like mine. If you just look for content like this, I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. There's tons of them, and they're great. But to stand out, it's harder and harder to do that. And I think lighting is the final frontier. People are starting to look a little better with their lighting because they're, you know, the 120D from Aperture with a light dome is super popular, and it's very easy to get a nice looking image. But if you can learn lighting, you can almost instantly, in a big way, get ahead of the competition. You know, I love, you know, competition's great, and I don't have anything against other YouTubers. I actually really love interacting with other YouTubers in our space. There's actually a little group of us that, you know, keep up with each other, which is fun. But yeah, if you get your lighting game up and running, that's what's going to separate you. You know, cameras are cheap and good. Lenses are becoming more attainable. But if you've got some sick lighting skills, you're going to be good to go. I would say that, and if you do corporate or weddings, I would say lighting, but also helping your customers sell, right? So many people, and I've talked about this with my good friend Corbin Tyson in the past, so many people go out there and they just try to make the next, you know, they try to make their corporate video about blue pinball machines look like a movie, when they should be trying to sell pinball machines in a way that looks like a movie. Does that make sense? So if you're doing weddings, if you're doing, you know, corporate documentary, corporate commercials, whatever you're doing, I think if you can make it look good, get your lighting under control and really dial that in, but also with your business, focus on selling your client's stuff, I think that's what's going to keep your company alive, because things are obviously changing, right? It's getting more and more difficult to cut it as a freelance or a production company. So I hope that didn't come across too heavy and sad and depressing. But with that, we're going to lighten things up, and in just a couple moments, I'm going to run upstairs, grab a beverage, and I'm going to be on Jem Schofield's channel, The C47. We're doing a brand new episode of Camera and Flash. We're talking about traveling with gear. So if you travel at all and you bring gear with you, what's the most efficient way, the sexiest gear to make that possible? It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys can join me. Again, I'm going to be dropping a link in the chat right there. There it is. I'll put it in the description as well. I'm going to head over there. See you guys in a moment. Thank you so much for joining me. Great questions. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening and a fantastic holiday weekend. Happy Turkey Day, Thanksgiving. That's going to do it. Catch you guys next time. Oops, this is awkward. My little outro's not working. Well, that was anticlimactic. Still no intro. Wow, this is going terribly wrong. There's a donation symbol. Wow, things are just a mess here. Let's try that. Nope, the intro's not working, or the outro's not working. Let's try this one. There we go. Okay, have a good one, guys.